Quinlan, good morning to you.
Good morning, Eoin.
So Andy Dunn there basically making the point that he didn't absolve the players of blame, but basically their poor performances can be put down to the coaching staff and to Joe Schmidt in particular. What do you reckon?
Oh Jesus, I don't know. It's look, he's making some. It's relevant to that we do we recycle the ball a lot, and we keep building phase after phase. If anything, I'd say that we probably need to, when we meet a brick wall, just kick tactically better. Not necessarily with the box kick, just put Sexton back in the pocket and just thump the ball down the field. Wales did that with Biggar the other day. They played very little rugby against us. They just pressurised us. They get the early score, and they're building kind of pressure all the time. There's no doubt about it, we haven't coped well with pressure because we were so used to 2018 being on the front foot. And we do build a lot of phases because the team are very accurate. So when they hit the brick wall, they keep going over and back and over and back. And this idea and this, it's very easy to say, well, we build too many phases and we should play off the cuff more. You play off the cuff, you make mistakes, you get knocked backwards. I think this Irish team does try to play an expansive game. They try to move the ball a lot. I think we overplay, and I think attritionally that has an effect on us then and it has affected us in these matches that we've hit a brick wall and we've kept trying to do the same thing over, whereas I think we need to play in different areas of the field and kick the ball better. And you know, someone said to me, we're not expansive, we're not ambitious. Well, what the hell did Johnny Sexton do with a crossfield kick to Jacob Stockdale? If they're afraid of the coach of doing that kind of stuff, well, why does he do that? We see him a lot do crossfield kicks, and a lot of them don't come to anything. We turn the ball over. You know, so I agree. There's some parts of what he's saying are correct, and Andy's a very intelligent. He was a fly half, and most fly halves are there for a reason because they can see and they can read the game very well. You know, so I don't think they're restricted in what their ambition to play and move the ball. I think we're very process-based, and in fairness, we're very, very good at recycling the ball. And, you know, our ruck, it does probably have a toll, and because the players maybe are overplaying at times, and particularly in this tournament, you know, we've worn teams down before. But
should that be an excuse from an Ireland perspective? I mean, we saw what happened against England, who have complained themselves about overplaying. Like, if you were talking about the taxing nature of our game on the bodies of the Irish players, well, that the English players have a tougher time of it with the amount of minutes that they play and things like that. So why has it been a particular focus from an Irish perspective?
Well, it's just when the results are negative, people are kind of can pick out that stuff. And I think, look, without disagreeing with Andy, we do build a lot of phases, and it does have an attritional effect. I think we maybe at times just. I would criticise the team for saying that maybe we're overplaying at times, particularly in our own playing out of our own 22, that we should kick a little bit more. Then Biggar comes on for Wales on Saturday and they kick the leather off the ball, and they're putting those pressure. You know, at 16-0, it's easier for sure, but him coming on, George North going off, was actually a massive boost for Wales given the conditions, because he's a great tactical kicker, Biggar, and he's a very physical, abrasive player, whereas Anscombe has been picked throughout the tournament to give him a little bit more approach. He has that little bit of flair, extra flair, and he's a broken field runner. Even though Wales scored 10 tries in the tournament, Ireland scored 14. Last year we scored 20 tries. It was the biggest number of tries since 2001, when that group of English players went on to win a World Cup. So
does that tell the full picture though? Like, I mean, when you look at the statistics, like you say we've overplayed, and I think that's bang on when you look at the stats.
When I mean overplay, I don't mean we're like throwing the ball around willy-nilly. I mean we actually keep going from here to here to here to here to over and back.
Exactly.
And we do a lot, and there's a lot of work in it. You know, at times it slows down and we use the box kick scenario. I would rather see you know, sometimes when we get a little bit of a yard or two, and England did it really well against us, where Farrell is nearly taking the ball on the run, where he's punting into the corner, and Rog spoke about that a few times, where sometimes we keep playing too much. It's not as if Ireland are just one-out runners all day long. Like, they're trying to bring people in, they're trying to move the ball a little bit, and you know, the damage was done in the first game, and it continued, and it had an effect on the confidence of the side. I just think that there's a massive overreaction. You have to pick through it. But I just wonder how many people watched the game back, paused it, stopped, watched it, rewound, watched it again. There's very small margins in that game the other day. People are saying the players didn't turn up and the roof was the big issue and this was wrong and that was wrong and the team were finished. There's definitely 3 or 4 players in the team who are very, very vulnerable to being finished with the national side.
Who are those players?
Well, I think, Sean O'Brien hasn't, and he didn't deliver on Saturday, and there was pressure on him to deliver. He's just got to get back with Leinster and try and find a run of games. Rory Best didn't play well on Saturday. You'll automatically kind of jump on that because of the age factor, which, Rory's big enough to take that himself and understand that. Peter O'Mahony didn't play well. Peter O'Mahony had a low 2 tackles, 2 carries. Josh Navidi at 28 tackles or 26 tackles or something like that. He's the opposite number. Is that down to him not working? No, it's not. It's down to him just having more of an influence and more of an effect for a top-class player. Sexton Murray didn't play well. So if Joey Carberry was fit, Dricko made the point last night on Off the Ball that, if Carberry's fit, healthy and well, would he start next week? He probably could. And maybe some of them need something to happen or some bit of a dynamic to change. And maybe they're not coping well with pressure. Rob Kearney, didn't play great at the weekend. Jacob Stockdale didn't play well. For me, Jacob Stockdale, right from the kickoff, he's got to come in field. You're talking about small moments. He gets tackled in a touch, they win the line-up, build a couple of phases, they get a penalty from a James Ryan side entry, which, when you watch it back, he clearly comes from the back of the ruck, back of the maul. It shouldn't have been a penalty. So then Garrett Anscombe gets the ball, knowing that he's a penalty coming, and then he puts in the dink kick and it works for him. They get another penalty and it's 10-0 up, and you just feel this is just going to be very difficult because
especially on a day like that.
It's hard to wrestle it away. And then people are saying Joe should have said close the roof. It's all bullshit. The players wanted the roof open. They wanted to have a bit of an edge. Did they go out and not try? Did they not have desire? Did they not work hard? No, that's not true. They worked their socks off. They lost individual battles early on, and a few things went against them. And should they be criticised? Absolutely. They should be, because it's not just, it's as a whole, but are the team done? Are they finished? Maybe some players are, but not this group, and not Joe Schmidt, because I think he's too good a coach. He delivered 3 championships in 5 seasons for us, and suddenly he's the worst coach in the world, and he's negative, and he's this, and he's that, and this doesn't work. We need to evolve a little bit more, so he'll learn himself that we didn't cope well with this tag of, yourself, if you're on a team, and I don't know if you'll agree, Johnny, if you're the champions and you head to any venue to play the opposition and they're perceived weaker than you, they're going to kick the shit out of you if they get a chance. And sometimes really good teams and teams with with maybe no drop in mentality, or maybe Ireland dropped and maybe believed a little bit of the hype themselves. But you're going to have to deal with that. And so they didn't deal with it well. England came with their backs completely to the wall. If they lost
England were 3-1 against to win that game.
Yeah. But I thought that was stupid. I thought England would put, I said before the game, I thought England would win the game on the day, on the Friday here, and I thought Ireland would win the game. But I just sensed a real desperation about them. And, a lot of brilliant players in that English side. 2 Vunipolos, a Toge, 2 Alagi, all these guys, Farrell. So they've had a very good side, but they did the damage. They got a good start in the game. That is a concern that if we don't get a good start, how do we cope?
It all points to kind of a bit of a mental lapse, does it, Alan? Like if you're saying that they can't cope with the favourites tag.
No, I'm not saying they can't cope with the favourites tag. They cope with the favourites tag down in Australia when they won a series. They cope with pressure with New Zealand coming in November after.
So maybe it actually isn't that a big factor in the Six Nations?
No, it's not. I think the Six Nations there's very small margins, and I think the pressure and the mistakes kind of mount it, and then they struggle to get it back. And maybe, so a lot of decisions went against them as well, and their luck deserted them a little bit. If you look at what Wales did, and this is not making excuses for Ireland, they were 16 points down in France, and they were dreadful. Wales were and France were dreadful in the second half. Wales got 2 really lucky scores. They end up winning that game, and credit to them because they showed a lot of character, and you can never question that group, that group, and particularly what they built 14 wins. They have a lot of resilience, a lot of character, and a lot of brilliant players. But by their own admission, they were very lucky to get through that game.
That's the amazing thing. The winners write history, and they could have been big losers in this campaign if they'd lost that game.
Wales go to Italy, they make 10 changes. We had 7 or 8 changes going to Italy. We got a bonus point win. Wales won by the same margin and didn't get a bonus point, and there's not a word said about it. So it happens. If we weren't Grand Slam champions coming in here, would people be having the same hysteria, same reaction?
They might do, like getting hockeyed in Cardiff. Like, I mean, ultimately it is judged on the scoreboard. Like, rightly you're delving deeper into it than the scoreboard. You can't just judge it on that. But ultimately it is too heavy.
How many people watched the game back and went through this stuff? I'm telling you, Saturday it felt worse than England. But when I watched it back...
You felt better?
Yeah, because I think, like people said, Conor Murray and Johnny Sexton were useless. They were terrible, they've got to go. Conor Murray actually did quite well. Sexton made a couple of mistakes when the pressure went, like, you could see that the pressure really told, and he got angry and it affected the mistakes in the second half. But honestly, I don't think it's as bad as people make out.
If the 5 games they played, would they be happy with their performance in any of them?
The first half in France was
the
superb.
First half?
60 minutes, I'd say, 65
against
minutes.
a bad French side, really?
Yeah, probably, yeah. To be fair, well, they've proven they're bad because they were dreadful in Italy as well. The only good performance they had was against Scotland in Paris.
First half against Wales, maybe?
Yeah, the first half against Wales, I thought France were back, but they were dreadful in England, really, really poor in Twickenham. So, but we put them to the sword, and we were 26-0 up, and it could have been a lot more. We lacked, and maybe because of what had gone on in the previous matches, we lacked that killer kind of punch that we would have had before. But it's amazing how it can change very quickly. 12 months ago, we're in Twickenham, and we're incredible, we're phenomenal. We're heroes, all that kind of stuff. And I'm not sticking up for him for the sake of it here. I've proven in the past I'm not afraid to stick the boot in if it needs to, but you have to put it in perspective. Like, and Joe will have to accept some criticism himself, and he will have to make some changes himself, and he will have to look at the personnel, and he'll have to sit down with his own coaches and say, right, this is the stuff that kind of went against us. This is where we didn't cope well. This is where mistakes happened, and they came from this kind of facet of pressure that we've had, and how do we cope better going forward? They don't have a lot of time, the frustrating part about it. So is it crisis? It is a little bit of a crisis because of the results and because of the high standards that the team have kind of created. But I think there's definitely an overreaction, and I think there's a few people which is you'll always have your online keyboard warriors who will criticize me for saying the refs' decisions were bad and this is what happened and this stuff didn't help. But also me saying that they don't hear me saying that Wales deserved to win the game anyway, and look, they were on the front foot and full of energy, they were much more accurate, but here's stuff that inhibited Ireland and just doesn't help when you're out on the field there, when these things start to mount and you feel there's a bit of injustice going on and there's some decisions, and then
the whole world's against you then.
It kind of can slip very quickly, and then you have people saying, well, they're useless, they're this, they're that, this fella has to go. You got to get some perspective, so they have to be criticised when you're at the top like that. And it is a bit of a crisis at the moment, but I think they can bounce out of it. I think there's a lot of young players who could easily come into this group. Scott Penny was brilliant for the under-20s throughout the Grand Slam. He's someone who could come in. Caelan Doris, Joey Carberry could be your starting 10. Who knows?
What do you think? Is on a more likely basis, like Jack McGrath's return is a potential, Sean Cronin returning to the squad is big potential. What are you thinking?
If they go and play well with their provinces, and I think what the Irish players need to do now is try and get their confidence back. And sometimes it's not even confidence, it's just feeling good about yourself again. Because you're disgusted and hurt and disappointed, and they've set themselves such a high standard. And I think that's what's affecting Johnny a little bit, because he's maybe trying to live up to that tag mentally of such high standards, and he was World Player of the Year. He tries so hard, he pushes himself onto incredible standards. Conor Murray, I would still say, needs to be sharper because of, he hasn't a lot of games played. He's still a brilliant player. They're very important going forward, But does that mean they shouldn't be dropped if Carbery plays really well for Munster and starts to dominate, or if Luke McGrath plays well, or Kieran Marmion or John Cooney? No, it doesn't mean that. But I just think that they've problems with regards the pressure and how do you deal with that. It sounds very simplistic for me, because going back to the original point from Andy Dunn saying that we do play a lot and we have to work incredibly hard. There's not many people will show us the tries we've scored off set plays and strike plays, which is off one phase. Why doesn't Andy show us all the tries we've scored in the last number of years where we've scored off the first phase with a brilliant strike? But what about Earl's try last week against France? There's been a load of them. The try off the line-out last year against England in Twickenham. You know, when Stander scores under the post. Joe Schmidt has come up with these things. So that's not a mentality of a coach who wants to be negative and just keep the thing safe all the time. I do agree in a sense that I would like to see the players maybe take a bit more responsibility and take on their opposition a bit more with footwork and a bit more evasiveness. So there's a fine line and a balance. So, you know, it is having an effect, maybe having all those phases, like, you know, trying to go over and back and over and back. And then you have, listen, if I was playing against Ireland, I'd be the most cynical player you'd ever watch.
Be more cynical. He said that after the...
You'd probably watch me and say, I hate him if he's wearing number 6 for Wales, because I would be offside, my leg will be in at the ruck, I'll be holding on to Murray, I'll be giving verbals, I'll be all over the place. And that's the stuff that Ireland need to probably get a bit more ruthless. You can't, the discipline in this modern game, you've got to be very careful, and Ireland are a very disciplined side, sometimes too disciplined, but they need to be a bit more confrontational with that wave of aggression that England brought. And the other side of this, Owen, is, and I'll say it, there is 3 or 4 players who are very vulnerable now and maybe need to be moved, drop back, and other guys put in ahead of them and let them fight them way into, not just into a World Cup team, but into a World Cup squad.
Is Carney among them?
Yeah, but sure, Rob Kearney's under that for 3 or 4 years and he keeps responding. So sometimes when he goes bad, he comes back and responds and people go, Jesus, we need Rob Kearney. So, you know, he's continuously have to do that over the years. Maybe Johnny Sexton has to do that for one game. Maybe Rory Best has to do it now. Maybe
Carbery being unavailable was a big blow as well, because we didn't have that.
Because look, Carbery can come on the field. He can go full back. He can go into the centre. You can bring him on. He can do something different. The conditions didn't help. I think the whole roof open and the conditions would have worked perfectly if Ireland got the 10 points ahead. So Saturday for me, there's a lot of, if you watch the game back, there's a lot of reasons as to why. And there's a lot of mistakes and a lot of refereeing decisions that went against them. That's not saying we would have won, because that's a superbly aggressive, intense, brilliant Welsh side. The damage was done in the first game.
Yeah, so you're saying not to panic just yet?
Well, we need to panic, but not to the levels people are suggesting.
Right.
Of course there needs to be panic. Good teams panic, and I'll finish by asking you, did Joe Schmidt say at any stage we're going to win a World Cup?
Well, it's true.
Did the players say at any stage they're going to win a World Cup? They're getting criticism from people who just want to criticise. They feel they're making themselves important by saying, oh, the rugby is over-egged, it's over...
There's been a lot of that.
Advertised, it's over... That's not the players' fault.
I was taken aback by the vilification of the players, as if like they didn't. It was like as if they didn't even try.
They went online.
You want to go out there and try in that way.
But if they went online saying we're brilliant, we're going to win a World Cup, they keep their heads down.
Sounds like the media narrative or something.
And look, at the end of the day, we have had a bad tournament. We've won 3 games. I just think the reaction is absolutely crazy, and some people are enjoying that.
I totally agree.
The players have never said they're going to win a World Cup. They've never said that we're the best team in the world. It's people outside. And then I have mates who do it myself who are big heads, and they, rugby this, rugby that, it's headlines here. That's not the players' fault, you know, that's just the culture.
Don't get them going on tip hurling at the moment.
I know, yeah, well, Jesus Christ, what a weekend. Like Dublin beating us on Saturday, but at least Liverpool scraped through. And you know, I had a few pints Saturday night in Cardiff and I saw Wolves beating United, so that kind of put a small smile.
And Scotland result as well, maybe.
3 of my mates were United fans I was watching it with, so it wasn't a good day for them.
Alan Quinlan, thanks a million for coming in. We'll, regardless of anything, like the quarter-final against whoever it may be, is going going to be a tough encounter, so I'll definitely go along with you on that one. I would just tell you this, on Wednesday the 27th of March, we're going to be live from the Olympia for the first Off the Ball Roadshow of the year, and it's in association with Heineken Rugby Club. There will be 3 provinces fighting it out for 4 Heineken Champions Cup semi-final positions, I should say. And joining us on tonight will be some Heineken Cup legends, including Wallabies coach Michael Cheika. We'll also be giving everyone there on the night the chance to win a trip to the Heineken Champions Cup final. It's the latest Off the Ball Roadshow in association with Heineken Rugby Club. Tickets are priced €15, excluding booking fee, and you can get them at offtheball.com/events. It's an over 18s event only. Drink Heineken sensibly and visit drinkaware.ie.